Hello and welcome to episode number 3 of the Bulldog Blitz football radio show presented by Two Hats Ranch. I'm the voice of the Bulldogs, Rob Bentley, alongside Sandy Golston as we get ready for week number 3 here for the Bulldogs. Faro State coming off a big win, 56-3 over Lake Erie this past Saturday night, and a big game here against the Ashland Eagles on Saturday.
Yeah, you know the competition is going to be tough. We knew that coming in, and Ashland presents an opponent that we've seen over the years. When they were in the GLIAC and now outside of the GLIAC, and we know it's always good competition, good, clean football between two teams, two programs that know each other very well.
Faro State, number 7 in the American Football Coaches Association poll this week, move up one spot to number 8, D2Football.com. And the Bulldogs certainly not so much concerned with the national rankings right now. It's just playing great football, and they did that this past Saturday night, 650-plus yards of total offense.
Yeah, really good bounce back. And you mentioned, the polls, and we talked about that a little bit. We've talked about that a lot over the years, and it's great for the fans and fun to stir up some interest before the season and throughout the season. But ultimately, it's cliche, but coaches and players, they really focus in on one game at a time. First, it was Pittsburgh State. Then it was Lake Erie College. And this coming week is going to be Ashland.
Of course, the Bulldogs, before we get into the Ashland matchup, we got a great show for you. Head Coach Tony Annese going to be on the show. Junior quarterback Trinidad Chambliss as well, who engineered the Bulldog victory with 3 touchdowns that he helped account for. Bulldogs scored on 7 consecutive offensive possessions, I believe, in the first half, build a 49-3 halftime lead, and had chances to play all kinds of guys in the second half.
Yeah, and that's why I'm really excited to hear from Coach and from Trinidad, because, you could really tell after the Pittsburgh State game that this was a team that was ready to get back to Big Rapids. They were ready to get back on the practice field, and then they were really ready to get back on the field for the home opener under the lights at Top Taggart Field against Lake Erie. So this was a very determined team during that week in practice. They were really locked in on what they needed to do against Lake Erie.
Of course, our thoughts go out to Bulldog junior quarterback Carson Golker. Unfortunate injury that happened right as he was about ready to cross the goal line at the 1-yard line. And certainly our thoughts go out to him. And by all accounts, great medical attention that was provided to him. And we hope he's doing well.
Yeah, prayers out to Carson Golker and the Golker family. Just tremendous people. And for those who weren't there or did not have a chance to see it on television, when they got him up on the stretcher, and literally the whole team went down there to pay their respects to Carson Golker. And that's what he's meant to this team. And so we're devastated for the injury, but at the same time, we're optimistic because he's getting really good care. And we look forward to him healing as quickly as possible and getting himself back. And even if he's not playing this year, he's still going to be a tremendous asset to this team.
Of course, injury is part of the game, and the Bulldogs had a couple other injuries that we'll have to wait and see how that all plays out here in the next week or so. But certainly some of these injuries give other kids a chance to step up, and we saw all kinds of kids come up and really make some plays throughout that ball game on Saturday.
Yeah, I think, one of the obvious ones really is, Trinidad Chambliss, because, there was more on his shoulders, and we'll hear from Trinidad later. But there was more on his shoulders, and that injury certainly affected him quite a bit. They have a great relationship, and he was one of those guys that knew that he was really going to have to step up. And then some of the backup quarterbacks that maybe had to step up a little quicker than what they thought came into the game, and players at other positions as well that really had to step up. And one thing that Coach Annese and the staff have been able to do over the years is really build depth. And sometimes that depth is going to be tested in ways that you don't want, but you have to be ready.
Of course, I think you said it during the broadcast on Saturday night that we had on Flow Sports and Sunny 97.3 when Carson went out. This is really becomes Trinidad's team, and he's certainly a very capable guy and has already shown some great leadership qualities.
Yeah, he has. And one thing about him is that he's not going to make excuses, and he's not going to say this should have happened or that should have happened. He's a guy that's going to take accountability, and he's a guy that wants to get better. He was one of those guys that really put in a lot of work in the offseason, and I think you're going to hear from him talking about that when his segment comes up. And so I'm just excited for him and the opportunity that he has and the growth that he has made from week 0 to week 1. And I expect that he'll make another step from week 1 to week 2.
Got to give a shout out to Faro State's Mitch Middleton, named the GLIAC Special Teams Player of the Week. He was automatic on Saturday night, and he's a guy that's got better and better in terms of the kicking game.
Yeah, he always had the big leg, right? And now you're seeing him getting a chance to show not only the big leg, but also the accuracy. being able to kick those field goals and whatnot. And he has just been absolutely phenomenal. He's given the Bulldogs a weapon in the kicking game. And so we know the Bulldogs take great pride in special teams, particularly the kicking game.
Of course, Ferris State this week, the Bulldogs 1-1 overall will take on Ashland. The Eagles coming off a 19-10 setback to Indiana, Pennsylvania, but we know Ashland always a very dangerous team. It seems like they play Ferris State as well as anyone has in recent years.
Yeah, and IUP is a good program. And one thing about Ashland is that they're not ducking tough competition. When you start off with IUP and then you play Ferris State, I mean, that's a tough way to begin a season. And so this is a team that we've always had great respect for. They do things really well down at Ashland. We've had a chance to go down there, and I fully expect this is going to be a very tough game. It always has been pretty much a tough game almost every year that we've played them. So I would expect nothing different here this weekend.
Of course, we might have to ask Coach Annese later on in the show, but going to be kind of nice not to have a couple guys that are former Bulldogs do what maybe they did to Ferris State last year. Des Libertus had a couple scores, I think. Chase Ford made a big defensive play as well. So two guys that were national champions here at Ferris State left for more playing time and maybe another opportunity, and certainly had big games against their former teammates last year.
We might have to ask Coach Annese, do we have any more Ferris State players that went down there or not? But, Ashland always finds them. And it just last year was just one of those things. It just happened to be two former Bulldogs that did that. But, before that, they've had other players that have stepped up. But it was bittersweet. I mean, you're happy for Des Libertus, and who put in a lot of years, as well as Chase Ford. And, you hate that they had that success against us, but you're happy that we got the win.
We certainly got the win last year. The Bulldogs will try to do it again. First time they've hosted Ashland since 2018. Coach Annese has kind of made that a point here in the last few days that they haven't been here in some time, but when they've been here, they've actually been pretty good during his tenure.
Yeah, they've been pretty good everywhere we've played them. But, you're right. I mean, they've had some great players over the years, and, you expect them to be a very well-coached team. You expect them to have really good athletes. And like a lot of teams, very similar to Pittsburgh State in a sense that they're typically always a good defensive team, and they usually are very fundamentally sound. They run the ball well, and usually when they have that quarterback that can really move the ball downfield, they become even tougher. So looking forward to seeing Ashland this weekend.
Of course, this Saturday night, Top Taggart Field, again, kickoff 6 o'clock. We'll have all the coverage for you on Sunny 97.3. And, of course, online as well at FerrisStateBulldogs.com. Also on Flow Sports with pregame coverage starting 4 o'clock on the radio dial with the Bulldog Tailgate Show, followed by the Johnson Automotive pregame show at 5, then into kickoff at 6 o'clock on Saturday night. It's a blackout game. Wear black. The Bulldogs will be down in the black jerseys come Saturday night, and hoping to get some fans to do the same. Free black beanies to the first 250 fans. So not sure they're going to need the beanies this Saturday night, although last week they could have probably used it with the weather conditions.
Yeah, you might want to get your beanie, and who knows, you probably won't need it this coming Saturday, but, hey, Bulldogs have one of those good runs. You might need it later in the season. So it's going to be great. We saw the blackout at Pitt State, and really good turnout for them by their students, and they were dressed in black. This year, I'm going to try to remember to put on my black. I think I forgot last time, but I'm going to try to remember this year.
We'll be back with more of the Bulldog Blitz football radio show presented by Two Hats Ranch right after this timeout. And welcome back, everyone, to the Bulldog Blitz football radio show presented by Two Hats Ranch. Rob Bentley and Sandy Golston with you, joined by the head coach of the Ferris State Bulldogs, Tony Annese. And, Coach, first of all, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys.
I know it's got to be feeling good to come back in here this week after a big win, and I'm sure the feeling a little bit better than maybe it was a week ago.
Yeah, heading to Pittsburgh, Kansas was, it was a challenging trip, and obviously we didn't perform to our standards. So, after the game, I actually told the guys, I said, I really believe in this team. I think this team's got the capability of being, a good team. Obviously expectations as they are, it's around here. It's national championship or bust now after winning back to back there in 21 and 22. So, I wanted them to know I believed in them, and I still do. And then coming back home and playing in front of a great crowd, and performing, really well against Lake Erie was exactly what the doctor ordered.
Maybe talk about the offensive execution and just how much improved that was from week 0 to week 1.
Yeah, we made so many mistakes in week 0 in regards to, just not taking care of the ball. And when we did make big plays, we had penalties. And so it was just like, the worst of all circumstances in the first game. And then, excuse me, but then the Lake Erie game, we had our first 7 possessions we scored touchdowns on. So, I mean, that makes you feel well.
I know here in the coaching business, it seems like you get a win, you enjoy it for a little bit, but right back to work. Maybe what's been the mindset of the guys going right back to the practice field this week?
Yeah, actually, we've been raring to go. This team's really been they've been focused. I really like their attitude. They don't make excuses. When we lost, they didn't make excuses. They just went back out and went to work. And we've had some key injuries, and nobody's making excuses about that. The guys just expect us to perform at a high level. And so I appreciate their attitude, and I think they'll be ready for Ashland.
Yeah. And going back to post Pitt State, what was the mentality of your guys? Because it was almost like they really wanted to get back into the lab. They wanted to get back into practice, and they wanted to get going. And then it looked like they were really, really ready to get back out on the field against Lake Erie.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, nobody panicked. A lot of times, like particularly as much success as we've had, a loss can be, is it fatal? And no, it's not fatal. I really took it as an approach. I told Rob this too. I said, listen, we got 10 games now. Like previous to the Lake Erie game, we had 10 games, and that's what we've had since, I guess, 2018, in the regular season. So, I didn't think about it this way, but okay, we just had a preseason game, and so hopefully that makes us stronger. I think our guys just knew we had more in us. The defensive side of the ball against Pitt State was like very gritty, very, very determined. So I was excited to see how some of our newcomers played, and I thought they were really tough. And so I knew if we could just get our rhythm on offense, and we've got the talent to do well on both sides of the ball. So I just felt good that, we would redeem ourselves, and we did.
And actually a pretty good segue, because I was going to ask you about the defense. We had Coach Hodges in here, Cephas Saipia, he was in here as well. And they were talking about that, yeah, good defense, but there's always things to learn. There's always things to improve on. There's always things to get better. And it seems like that's a characteristic of your program from top to bottom, that even when we have a good performance, there are always things that we can do better. And we set our own standard.
Yeah, that's the standard. Yeah, it's constant improvement. It's you evaluate based upon our standards, not whether we won or lost. I actually, after we beat Lake Erie and we were watching the Sunday film, I said, guys, just know this. Like, I'm not trying to be overly critical, but we don't measure based upon W or L. We measure based upon execution and performance, and so we had a leadership group all off season. We had different speakers come in, and Jason Vanderland came into the IRC auditorium, and he said, I sat right here at every meeting, and every single time that guy ripped me. And he says, it didn't matter if we won by 50, he was still on me. And he says, I won a Harlan Hill trophy, and he still wouldn't even name me the starting quarterback the next year. He said, Trevor might beat you out, and so, it's just the way we are. And, it was a good lesson from, the best that's probably ever been here at Ferris State and, Jason. But, I think our guys are kind of have that ingrained in their head that, it's never good enough. We're just constantly striving for more.
Yeah. And actually, you made me go in a different direction than what I was going to ask you. I was going to start looking ahead to next week. But, you mentioned the great Jason Vanderlaan coming back, and I was at a practice. You had Landon Grove back here. Talk about those alums that remain connected with the program and like coming back and sharing their experiences at Ferris State, and then the experiences that Ferris State helped set them up for.
Yeah, it's incredible. Just last Friday I went and watched Granville and Davison play because we got a commit from one of those schools. And so, John Higgins, Austin Simpson, Casey Zinner, they're all on the Granville staff. And so then I see them before the game and give them a hug. And then as I'm watching the game, Jake Doherty and Torrey Day are there. So I'm with them the whole second half. And so I just was watching film with the team an hour ago, and Liam Daly called me, and I said, "Hey, what's up, Liam?" And he's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Watching film with the team." He goes, "Well, you don't have to answer." I said, No, if you need something, I got to be there for you. But yeah, it's just an unbelievable, really unbelievable culture. Hunter Thompson was at that same game. He's at Hope College, and so it goes on and on. Doherty was going to go with Kyle Thompson to watch the Calvin game on Saturday because Kyle's brother-in-law plays for Calvin. So it's just amazing, just all the connections these guys have. It's really life-altering. It's life-altering for me to know that those guys are so loyal to Ferris, but it's life-altering for them to have such a great group of men that still are so connected and support one another.
Coach, as we get ready for this week's game, maybe talk about the matchup against Ashland, obviously a team that's really played you guys well here over the years.
Yeah, after you said that on the TV, and I said, dang, Rob always says that. I got to go back and check. But yeah, they've been tough. Last year we were down at halftime. At one time I'm like, we finally closed it to 3, and they drove down the field on a 99-yard drive to go back to 10. So they were up 10 with like 4 minutes to go in the third quarter. So as I was watching the complete game, I got a little bit of, stress. I'm like, oh my gosh, are we going to win this? And my wife's like, geez, what's wrong with you? You won the game. I said, yeah, I'm still watching. I'm, stressed out. We had, I think we had 19 penalties for like 195 yards. Every other play, the ball was in the air. They'd call interference on us. And we made a lot of mistakes. We had a punt that we basically screwed up, punted off our shield. They recovered it in the end zone. And what's ironic is Chase Ford scored the first touchdown for them. Des Libertus had 2 touchdowns. They both played for us. Both were on our team when we won the national championships in 21 and 22. And so it's like, oh my gosh, is everything going to go against us? And the former Ferris guys are going to.
We don't have any more guys there.
Yeah, right. So that was very stressful. And, they're super young men. So it's not that because they were with Ashland that I think, oh, they're the enemy. But, I gave them a hug after the game and said, man, great game. But we fought through. We were resilient. And we fought through some hard times. And it's a tough road game, It's a tough road game. And unfortunately, it was a road game for 3 straight competitions. It wasn't 3 straight years because we didn't play them in 22. But it was a road game 3 straight times. And so they get to come to us. And I was talking to my staff the other day. I said, I bet you they have 0 guys on their team that ever been to Ferris State to play football. Think about it. We haven't played them since 18.
Yeah.
It's 24 now. Maybe they have 1 or 2, but not many. And so that's crazy to think about.
Finally here, final question, just playing Ashland. What's it mean to be able to play another quality program and fill another hole, obviously, on the schedule and kind of keep this rivalry going?
Yeah, it's actually over after this year. They haven't renewed anything with us, but I appreciate the fact that they, were willing to play us for a long time. When I took the job and my first season was 2012, and we played Ashland, I'm like, holy crap. They were a super team, undefeated, and they gave us troubles. They beat us in 12. They beat us in 16 in a game that was, it's a very memorable game for us, even though we went to the semis that year. and then they beat us in 17. So they beat us back to back in 16 and 17, and they've been, you know, they've been really good defensive squad, you know, and so you know, hopefully we execute well, but they're gritty. They're a tough ball club for sure.
Coach, thanks for the time. We appreciate you being here on the Bulldog Blitz football radio show, and best of luck on Saturday night.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Bulldog Blitz football radio show presented by Two Hats Ranch. Rob Bentley and Sandy Golstead with you as we move into our GLIAC and national segment with all the action going on around Division II football. We'll start in the GLIAC where, Sandy, in week 1 or week 0, if you will, I think we only had 3 teams in action. We had a whole slew of games this past week in the GLIAC.
Yeah, a lot of people really getting their season started. And so it was great to see a full slate of, or a much fuller slate of GLIAC games this week.
Of course, this week in the GLIAC, Wayne State went on the road, fell to the Tiffin Dragons 31-17. Tiffin, a team that had a great season a year ago and went to the NCAA Division II playoffs.
Yeah, Tiffin is a program that's really grown over the years, and they've gotten better and better. Remember when they first came into the GLIAC, it was a program that was building, you know, trying to build towards something. And boy, they've put their mark in Division II college football and get a big win over Wayne State.
Of course, maybe one of the most exciting games of the week. It was Michigan Tech after a tough loss against a ranked Bemidji State team. They go back home, had a battle with South Dakota Mines, 52-50. I think it went to 4 overtimes up in Houghton, Michigan.
Boy, what a shootout. A combined 102 points and just back and forth and back and forth. It looked like Michigan Tech maybe wasn't going to be able to pull it out, but boy, they sure found a way to get it done. What a game that must have been for the fans up there in Houghton.
Northern Michigan went on the road as well. Still looking for its first victory. They fall to Kentucky Wesleyan 33-13. So Kentucky Wesleyan, a member of the Great Midwest Athletic Conference, as was Lake Erie, as is Ashland, that we'll see here on Saturday night.
Yeah, a lot of matchups where those teams are facing each other, and you know, again, these are schools that are somewhat familiar with each other, and maybe not so much Kentucky Wesleyan and Northern Michigan. Northern Michigan is a program that's trying to rise back up the ranks a little bit, and tough setback for them against the Panthers.
Of course, Grand Valley State opening the season on Thursday night as well. They defeated Central State of Ohio by a score of 58-0, and Saginaw Valley State gets a huge win on the road as Ryan Brady and the Cardinals defeat Winona State 38-14.
Yeah, not really much of a surprise in the Grand Valley Central State game. Pretty much what people expected. Good win for Coach Ryan Brady and Saginaw Valley going on the road to Winona State. You know, I think anytime you go on the road against a Winona State team that's, you know, has been good over the years and has been a solid team, especially at home. So a good win for Coach Brady and the Cardinals.
Of course, those were all Thursday night games last week. We had a couple Saturday games, one of them being the Ferris State game, a 56-3 win over Lake Erie. Davenport also in action on Saturday for head coach Sparky McEwen, and they go on the road and defeat Thomas More 24-17 in what was a tight ball game.
Yeah, it was a battle. I think if I remember correctly, Davenport pretty much led the entire game, but Thomas More really kept fighting and made it close there. But big win for Coach McEwen and the Panthers.
Let's move on to this week's action, and we'll start in the GLIAC where Michigan Tech, big matchup in terms of regional play, non-conference game against the Hillsdale Chargers.
Yeah, it's going to be a good opportunity for Tech to get a win. They've, you know, got the win, of course, over South Dakota Mines, and boy, they'd love to make it 2 in a row.
Davenport, who we referenced just a little bit ago, they've got a huge matchup this week as they travel to Maryland to face Bowie State. Yeah,
it's another long road trip for Coach McEwen's Panthers, and Bowie State definitely going to be a step up in competition. So going to be an interesting score to keep your eyes on as we look ahead to Saturday.
Of course, a big game on Saturday involving couple teams that are very close to each other, former conference opponents, now non-conference opponents, but the Axe Bowl between Saginaw Valley State and Northwood going to take place in Midland, and Northwood had an impressive win last week.
Yeah, they did close in proximity, but maybe not so close in terms of friendship there. Axe Bowl, big-time rivalry right there, 2 really close neighbors, and you mentioned Northwood and Saginaw Valley, both teams feeling good coming into this matchup right here, so should be very interesting to see how that plays out. Northwood's a team that's been trying to bounce back a little bit, and Saginaw Valley's a team looking to try to climb the ranks in the GLIAC.
Northwood coming off a 28-14 win at Gannon this past week, so they get a win under their belts as they get ready to face the Cardinals. Findlay, another team that's off to a great start, has looked good here early on, and they'll travel to Wayne State, probably the favorites against the Warriors.
Yeah, going to be another tough one for Wayne State, and coming off a loss last week. and they get another Ohio school, and maybe one that's at least as good or better in Findlay to what they faced in Tiffin. And Findlay is a team that's got some pretty high expectations this year, so it's going to be an interesting matchup there for the Warriors and the Oilers.
Of course, we have a new team in the GLIAC this year, Roosevelt, who the Bulldogs will play in their first conference game on homecoming coming up on October 5th. They've got some tough matchups ahead in the GLIAC, but not sure they get any easier this week for Roosevelt. They're taking on Wisconsin Whitewater. I'm not sure how good Whitewater's been the last year or two, but at one point they were kind of the cream of the crop in Division III.
Yeah, I don't think that there's a whole lot of drop-off there. And when you get into that University of Wisconsin system with some of those teams, they're good teams. They are really, really good football teams, well-coached football teams. Roosevelt's going to have to be ready because Whitewater is going to bring it.
Of course, another school in the GLIAC, Northern Michigan, going to play another team from that Wisconsin system. They travel to Wisconsin lacrosse, and they're going to have their hands full.
Wisconsin lacrosse is good. That's going to be a very, very challenging matchup for Northern Michigan. Wisconsin lacrosse, a very strong tradition, and that's going to be quite a battle for Northern Michigan.
Of course, we'll talk plenty about the Ferris State-Ashland matchup, the other matchup in the GLIAC, matchup of ranked teams. Grand Valley State going on the road to Colorado State Pueblo, and their offenses look pretty good here early on in the year.
Well, I think maybe before the season, that game looked different than it does now. Pueblo looks maybe a little bit better than what some people thought, but obviously Grand Valley, very powerful team. Let's
go around the country on our Division II football scoreboard and talk about some of the other matchups going on around the nation this week. American International, who will actually be the Bulldogs' next opponent. Ferris State off next week with a bye week, and then we'll travel to American International on September 28th. They're at Southern Connecticut, a rare Friday game involving a Division II school. Action on Saturday, Edinburgh will be at Kutztown. Shepherd and Slippery Rock, intriguing matchup down in West Virginia. Ohio Dominican, former GLIAC member, will travel to Winston-Salem. We got Tiffin at Lenoir-Rhine, which is a big matchup.
That's a really good game. I tell you what, I'm definitely going to be keeping my eyes on that one.
Also around the country, Frostburg State at West Liberty. It's Mary at Sioux Falls. Colorado Mines going on the road, maybe their toughest test so far as they travel to Washburn in the MIAA.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one. Colorado Mines looking to stay up near the top of the nation right there, but this is definitely an opponent they're going to need to keep an eye on.
Lake Erie, who the Bulldogs just defeated, will play host to Post. Southwest Minnesota going to Bemidji State. It's Colorado Mesa hosting Central Washington, a big game out there in the RMAC / Lone Star land.
Yeah, that's going to be one that people are going to be keeping their eyes on as well. And, Central Washington is a team that goes everywhere and plays just about everybody. And so high expectations on Central Washington this year and get a chance to play a Division II team.
Minnesota Duluth will host Minnesota State Moorhead. It's Northern State going to Minot State. Delta State will be at Wingate. Those are all afternoon games around the country. Some evening games, though, as well, and some big games Saturday night, along with the Bulldog game. Truman State traveling to Indianapolis in the GLVC. It's IUP, who just defeated Ashland, Indiana, Pennsylvania, traveling to Lock Haven. Eastern New Mexico will go to Angelo State. They're looking for their first win after a couple tough games that they played on the road in the state of Kansas. And Henderson State hosting Southeast Oklahoma. Northwest Missouri State, a rare 0-2 record, playing host to Fort Hays. Not going to get it any easier for the Bearcats.
Yeah, that's before the season. That was a huge matchup. And now Northwest Missouri, uncharacteristically, a little bit slow out of the gates. Fort Hays feeling really good about themselves. So could be an interesting matchup. Can you imagine them losing 2 in a row at home?
Augustana, a team that thinks they're better than maybe they have been in recent years. Tough test as they travel to South Dakota State to meet the defending national champions in FCS football.
They're going to find out how tough they are.
Big trip to Brookings right there for Augustana. Fayetteville State will be at Valdosta State. Valdosta coming off a win. Minnesota State, who has looked pretty good here early in the year, one of those wins coming over Northwest Missouri State. They have a tough test as they go on the road to Wayne, Nebraska to face the Wayne State Wildcats, not the Wayne State Warriors, but the Wayne State Wildcats, the Wayne State institution out of the state of Nebraska.
So, you know a little bit more about them than I do. But Minnesota State, is a team that's feeling really good, and of course, we saw them several years ago on a very cold night in Mankato, Minnesota. So we'll see. That's a program with a good tradition, a proud tradition, and looking to get a big road win.
Central Missouri with the reigning Harlan Hill Trophy winner and Zach Zabrowski will travel to Central Oklahoma. Zabrowski, I think, threw for 500-plus yards in their season opener last week, but going to get a little tougher as they head to Edmond, Oklahoma.
Well, you better have a good pass rush against that team, and you better have some guys that can cover on the outside.
Also in action, the defending national champions out of Harding will travel to Oklahoma Baptist. Emporia State will head to the Jungle as they face Pittsburgh State.
That's quite a test for Pittsburgh State. Obviously, the Gorillas off to a big start this season with a win over us, and then they bounce back with a win over their nearby rival. But boy, Emporia State is a team that's looking pretty good right now. Pitt State obviously looking good. That should be a great matchup.
West Texas A&M also Saturday night hosting Western Colorado, and that's a big game out there as well, involving an RMAC and Lone Star Conference team.
Yeah, certainly Western Colorado has been up in those national rankings quite a bit, and going to be a big test for them heading to West Texas.
We'll be back with more of the Bulldog Blitz football radio show presented by Two Hats Ranch after this timeout. And welcome back, everyone, to the Bulldog Blitz football radio show presented by Two Hats Ranch. Rob Bentley and Sandy Golston with you as Ferris State gets set to host the Ashland Eagles this Saturday night. Back-to-back home games here. Really something sweet for the Ferris State fans.
It really is. And, we've talked about it a number of times, but anytime you get a chance to host those early season games, the first game and then the second game, and they're night games, and night games are special at Ferris State. Night games are special at a lot of places, and so it's going to be really exciting. And the weather's looking a little bit warmer, so I think going to be an opportunity for the students to kind of spill out of those residence halls and apartments and come to campus and have a good time under the lights, and hopefully have a big game on the field as the Bulldogs take on a very good Ashland team.
Of course, this past week, Ferris State had a great performance, as we noted and talked with Coach Annese. The Bulldogs putting up more than 650 yards of total offense in the win over Lake Erie. And got to like what the offense was able to do in terms of bouncing back, but you also got to like the fact that the defense gave up just those 3 points, despite playing everyone, I believe, in uniform almost on Saturday night.
Yeah, I was really pleased to see the offense bounce back, and you knew they would. And, I think they really felt like they had something to prove after that game against Pittsburgh State out in Kansas, and they really came back and showed it. And it looked like they were excited to get back on the practice field and then excited to get back on the game field for Lake Erie. And it really showed just a much crisper, confident, poised offensive unit. And that was really great to see. The defense remained as stubborn as ever, and that was fun to see. They felt like they could still step their game up a little bit, and they did.
35 points in the opening quarter, engineered by Trinidad Chambliss, along with Carson Golker, who unfortunately left the game due to injury that we talked about earlier. But the Bulldogs had an opportunity to play, I think, another 3 or 4 quarterbacks at the very least in the second half, and certainly some guys that now kind of being thrown into the fire a little bit in terms of who's going to be that number 2 guy for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, where you might have been thinking, maybe get a few snaps here, and we'll see where things go, over the course of the next year or so, or maybe a couple years for some of the younger quarterbacks. And now all of a sudden, there's a little bit more competition, and guys kind of jockeying for positions and trying to see who's going to be that next guy. And so it's really exciting and a great opportunity for some young quarterbacks.
Of course, the Bulldogs certainly had Lake Erie maybe overmatched in terms of the athleticism, the size they were able to put on the field. This week it'll be maybe a little more closer than normal. Ashland, a perennial Division II program that's been very strong, and we certainly expect them to be at their best here. And they're making that jump from week 1 to week 2, where we expect them to show some improvement over maybe what they showed the first week.
Yeah, we've talked about that a number of times, and the cliche, but is it really a cliche that you do make that big improvement from your first game to your second game, and that's what Ashland is looking at right now. The tough thing for them is that they have to come on the road at Ferris State, but they're looking to step up and to grow a little bit from what they did against IUP in week 1 to try to become a better team in week 2. And the Bulldogs certainly expect to get the best. They respect all opponents, and they know that Ashland, a team we've played many times over the years, is going to come in ready to play.
I know the Bulldogs, as you look back to maybe 2013, I think it's 7 regular season losses or something like that for this Ferris State program. Grand Valley's had a couple of those in there. Bulldogs obviously fell at Pittsburgh State this year, at Montana last year. North Dakota State was one of them, but Ashland's been a few of them as well.
Yeah, and that's, again, a program that has great tradition. They've been well coached over the years, and they believe they're a top caliber program, and they've proven to be a top caliber program. And so, the Bulldogs don't have a ton of losses, and Ashland has certainly been right there. We've had some tough ones against Ashland over the years, but we've also had some great victories against them. So that's what makes a good non-conference rival.
Of course, they had Lee Owens as the head coach for quite some time. They've since moved on as he retired, but a lot of the coaching staff still very much the same guys that coached for him in his system, and they've also traditionally been known as a very strong defensive team.
Yeah, a lot of respect for Coach Owens and what he was able to do at Ashland. And, kind of similar to Pittsburgh State, they're a team that really hangs their hat on playing good, sound, fundamental, physical defense. And, they are very solid offensively as well. They don't make a lot of mistakes. And that makes teams tough to beat when they don't make a lot of mistakes.
Of course, we remind fans, wear black on Saturday night. It'll be a blackout game. The Bulldogs will be wearing the black jerseys here in front of the home fans at Top Taggart Field, and certainly hoping for a big crowd. Weather looks extremely nice, at least right now here in the middle part of the week going into Saturday night.
Yeah, fingers crossed that trend continues. And, it was pretty nice last weekend, maybe a little cooler than you would expect for early September, but it's supposed to be a little bit warmer. So it really should be basically a perfect day to come out and take in some college football. And I tell you what, for fans, get your tickets, get your parking passes in advance, and get ready to come and enjoy, because I'm going to tell you, there's not going to be too many really, really beautiful days left to come and take in home college football.
Of course, I was going to mention those same points went very well in terms of the parking, some of the changes made this past Saturday. And again, if you buy it early, if you get your tickets before you get there, you save $5 rather than buying them at the ticket window. Same thing with parking. If you want to get in that main lot, you need to buy your parking online, and hopefully a lot more fans will pick that up here going into the second home game. And we're expecting a big crowd. Ashland, a team that traditionally draws very well here when they play the Bulldogs.
Yeah, you definitely want to be in that big lot. And, again, just get it taken care of beforehand. And Ashland, you're right. Lake Erie didn't draw quite as many fans, but Ashland, you could expect, again, that's a proud program with great tradition and great fan support. And, we were down there playing last year. They were just packed in that place last year. And so you would expect a lot of those fans are going to make the trip up to Big Rapids.
Of course, we'll be out in the parking lot for the Bulldog Tailgate Show at 4 o'clock on Saturday, presented by Fox Motors. And we'll be right next to the Gridiron Club lot. We'd like to remind fans to join the Gridiron Club. And we had John Bayless, a longtime member of the Gridiron Club, a Bulldog football alum, on the Tailgate Show this past week. And they do so much for Bulldog football, and we hope all fans can get joined up, sign up for the Gridiron Club. You can find out more online at FerrisStateBulldogs.com.
Yeah, it's a really great way to not only support the program financially, but also there's some great perks that you can get from being in the Gridiron Club. And there's just great people that you surround yourself with. And so you definitely want to be in that Gridiron Club lot, and just lots of great food, lots of great camaraderie. You get a chance to see alums. We saw Malik Taylor over there in the Gridiron Club lot. You never know who you're going to see down there in that lot. So you just happen to see an NFL player walking through the lot there at Top Taggart Field. And so just great times. I'm a member of the Gridiron Club, and I hope you will become too.
I know, unfortunately, Malik was injured this year, but the Jets, I think, could have used him against San Francisco. But nonetheless, great to see him back in Big Rapids last weekend. I'm sure we'll have some other alums out there here this Saturday as Ferris State plays host to Ashland. While we have a chance here, let's talk about what else is going on in Ferris State athletics. And a great weekend for Bulldog volleyball this past weekend. They went 3-0 down in Texas, defeated the number 3 team in the country in West Texas A&M.
Yeah, I mean, you can't kick off your season much better than that, to go down there into the eye of the storm, so to speak, and get a big win over West Texas A&M. A great 5-set thriller. Bulldogs able to hang on in that 5th set to finish that one off, and really just kicked off a great, successful trip to Texas.
They will head to Huntsville, Alabama this weekend to take part in the Huntsville Invitational, and they'll play 4 more opponents this coming weekend. Bulldogs soccer last week tied Cedarville in the season opener at home. They went on the road to Indianapolis, got a 2-1 win. Reese Carmody a goal in both games for the Ferris State soccer team this week. A couple home matchups. They'll take on Findlay on Friday at 1 o'clock, and then they take on Ashland as well on Sunday at 1 o'clock in Big Rapids at the Bulldog soccer field, celebrating this week in the 25th season of Bulldog soccer.
Yeah, just amazing how far this program has come. And I just was there in that first season, and aging myself. Well, I'm aging you too, but we're both aging ourselves. But
I came in year 2.
You did. You came in year 2. Okay, you weren't not quite year 1, so he's a little bit younger than me. But yeah, you just got to be happy for that program, Rob, and what Coach Henson has got going right now, and he has really got that program continuing on a great trajectory.
Of course, the Ferris State men's golf team also will be at home starting Monday and Tuesday as they open up their season, hosting the Bulldog Invitational at Catkey Golf Course. And Was out of khaki for a high school tournament just yesterday. The course looks fabulous and should be ready to go.
Yeah, it's just an awesome course. They do a great job, and that's not just obviously a great competitive course, but also really like a classroom and a lab for our PGA golf management students, and they do such a great job, and the staff at khaki do a tremendous job. So it's going to be a first-class tournament.
Of course, we'll be back with more of the Bulldog Blitz football radio show presented by Two Hats Ranch after this quick timeout. Welcome back, everyone, to the Bulldog Blitz football radio show presented by Two Hats Ranch. Rob Bentley and Sandy Golston with you, joined by Ferris State University junior quarterback Trinidad Chambliss. And Trinidad, first of all, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
What's it like coming in, I guess, after a big Bulldog victory and obviously a great performance all the way around this past Saturday night?
It was good to get a win, at home. Coming off the week 0 loss to Pitt State, that was a bummer. I myself was disappointed in my performance, and the offense didn't play as well as we usually do. But yeah, it was good to get a win, versus Lake Erie. Our offense was clicking, defense was clicking too, and rolling into week 2, we're confident. So,
how important was it this past week to get off to a great start? Scored on the first, I think, 7 offensive possessions, just to be able to get off to a great start after the game you guys had the week before.
Yeah, going into the week, we practiced hard and we had a lot of good focus, going into plays and whatnot, and just going over schemes or whatever. For the first drive, I made it, a point where I wanted to get it first, 5 or 6 plays. We get in the end zone, and have a good start to the game. So it was good. Yeah, it was great.
What's it been like, I guess, for you this year? Knowing last year you obviously got some reps and played some, but coming into this year, you knew you were going to kind of play a bigger role and be more of a leader here on this team.
Yeah, this past summer, just going into that leadership role and becoming one of those guys that younger kids can look up to, and kind of like a voice they can hear and listen to. Yeah, I mean, I just had to step up. I know some of the other guys had to step up as well. So yeah.
And just talk about, coming off of Pitt State, and obviously there was a lot of frustration, and you guys felt like you left a lot on the field that you could have accomplished in that game. But what about the resolve of the offensive unit? Because you yourself really bounced back, but you guys as an offensive unit really bounced back. Talk about, recommitting yourselves, kind of wiping the slate clean of Pittsburgh State and really locking in on Lake Erie.
Yeah, I feel like we got to take a step back and see what we needed to see, maybe things that we needed to change, things that we could add to our offense. And we have added some, new plays and some schemes for different defenses. And Pitt State's defense, credit to them, they're, one of the best defenses in the nation. And I know we got a lot of guys that are great athletes and are great players, receiver standpoint, that can go up and get the ball and make plays when they do have the ball. And our receivers, our running backs too. We have great running backs like Kenan Katzer, Zach Ahern, Markel King, for instance, that can, really create big plays when they get in space. And credit to our offensive line too. Like, they're the ones that make it happen. We literally couldn't do anything without them. And so yeah, we're moving forward, and we're clicking right now. We look good.
Yeah, it looked like when you guys came into Lake Erie, it looked like you guys were just kind of chomping at the bit to get back out there, and almost like you had a chip on your shoulders, and yes, you guys really, really wanted to get back out there. You had to really love also that you guys really had pretty much everything working offensively. And you mentioned the running game. Talk a little bit about that running game, because you guys have a tremendous amount of depth there at running back, and just talk a little bit about that and how that's going to take some pressure off the overall passing game and the overall offense.
Yeah, no, the running backs are great. And like you said, if we're able to run the ball with our running backs, it's going to open up the pass. And, with our offensive line, they can really get, defenses moving, D linemen moving, and create holes. And, we right now have one of the best backfields in the nation, I believe. We just got to, get in the rhythm of things.
Yeah. And then talk about that receiving core, because you got a lot of weapons out there, a lot of guys who put in some work in the offseason to get themselves to that high level. And just talk a little bit about it, because you guys are still a product that's growing right now, and, you're just 2 games into the season, but you got some tremendous weapons out there at receiver.
Yeah, we do. Deep balls for the receivers. They can go up and grab any balls that, I'm throwing to them. Our slots, explosive on speeds and sweeps and whatnot. I just got to, be able to throw it to them and have an accurate ball. And I myself, are stern on that. I just got to make, great throws and accurate throws. So, yeah.
What does it feel like for you for the coaches to really have that confidence in you? Because there were some tough times against Pittsburgh State, and the coaches really stuck with you, and they really believe in you. That had to really be inspiring for you.
Yeah, after I started versus Pitt State, that was really a blessing, and I'm very appreciative of that. And I know I didn't play the best, and I had some mistakes throughout that game. Next week going into Lake Erie, I didn't know if I was going to start or not, and I'm appreciative that they did end up starting me, because I feel like I needed a drive, like I said earlier, the first drive needed to be a statement, and I'm glad that happened, and just very appreciative. And I love my coaches here. They do a great job, with creating relationships with all players, and myself, I can, attest to that and really say that I really do care for every player. So,
and then before I kick it back over to Rob, there was no finger pointing from you guys after the Pittsburgh State game. I mean, there was no like, oh, this unit didn't do. Everybody seemed to really take accountability and really nobody got rattled, because I mean, a lot of you guys have been through it. You guys have won championships before. Just talk a little bit about that. There was no finger pointing. There's just, hey, let's just get it all together.
Yeah, obviously the first game we're gonna have some kinks and things to figure out, and whether it's offensively or defensively, we didn't play a perfect game. Our guys know that, and we've been through it. We played tough teams like Grand Valley, played Pitt State before, obviously Colorado School of Mines. So we kind of know how it is, and we know how each game goes. We know it's early, and we got a lot of things to figure out, the rest of the season.
Absolutely.
We're with Trinidad Chambliss, Bulldog junior quarterback, here on the Bulldog Blitz football radio show. And Trinidad, before we kind of turn our attention to this next week, obviously a tough moment this past Saturday when Carson went down with an injury. And I know you guys had a great relationship. Maybe talk about how important it was for the team just to, try to resolve after that moment and be sure that didn't let it really impact the outcome of the game.
Yeah, seeing Carson go down was a terrible thing to see. I know the team was devastated. I myself, got emotional on the field. He's just a really big part of our team, and it's just really tough loss because, he's played before and he's done amazing, and he's got accolades, like no other. And he's just such a great player. He's worked his tail off to get where he is right now. And yeah, we're just really gonna miss him, and everyone's just devastated about it. So prayers up to Carson, and hopefully he can have a fast recovery.
As you get ready for this week's game, obviously Ashland, a tough opponent. What's it going to take to come out there on Saturday night and have another big ball game?
Yeah, Ashland, tough team. We've played them before. Obviously last year was a bit of a nail biter, but we ended up getting the win. Hopefully we can do all that without the adversity that we went through. But every game you're gonna have adversity, so we just got to be consistent and just play our ball, take care of the football, not have as many penalties as we've had before, and we'll win. We'll get the dub, hopefully.
I know you talked earlier about your offensive line. You buying those guys dinner anytime soon?
Yeah, I have talked to them about going to Beto's one night, and it's on me because I gotta pay it back to them because they do so much and they sacrifice so much for me and the team, and sometimes they don't get the recognition they deserve. But I always appreciate them, and I know the whole team does.
Maybe talk about your development coming in as a freshman and then to where you are right now, and how much progress has been made here in the last 3 years or so.
Yeah, first coming into Ferris, I was about 170, really skinny, really scrawny, really didn't lift weights at all. And then now our strength program is amazing. I know Andrew Thiedi's not here anymore, and now we got a new strength staff with Coach Haynes and Coach Dom, and I just been really keen on lifting and making it a purpose to get in the weight room, make sure I'm eating right, steady diet and whatnot, and then throughout football and getting IQ and whatnot, the coaches has been amazing, helping me read defenses. I really struggle with that, first 3 years that I've been here, reading defenses and whatnot, seeing what certain defenses are doing, picking up on tendencies and whatnot. So I feel like I've grown a lot, and all credit to the coaching staff and the strength coach and everyone supporting me around. So I've got a great support staff. So
how special is it for you being from here in West Michigan to be able to play college football right here for one of the top programs right here in West Michigan?
It's a blessing, honestly. Coming out of high school, I honestly didn't think I was going to play football, and Coach Annese had reached out to my high school coach. Shout out Coach Ostapau at Forest Hills Northern. He actually hooked it up probably. I was really under the radar, really wasn't, a crazy good football player in high school, mainly basketball, honestly. But yeah, I'm blessed to be here. Ferris State's a great program. You can just tell back-to-back national championships. They've been in the playoffs before multiple years. I actually had the national championship playoff appearance. I think it was 2017, 2018. So yeah, this is a prestigious program, and I'm just blessed to be here.
Finally here, before we let you go, maybe talk about something the fans don't know off the field. What do you like to do, or anything special?
I'm kind of a common guy. I like to hang out with my friends. I like to golf in the spring, the summer. I like to go on the boat, surf and whatnot. Obviously watch college football, watch NFL games, watch any sporting event, honestly. But yeah, I just dyed my hair blonde, so that's kind of new. I know I had black hair before. But, all the quarterbacks wanted to, do something, special. And I know all the other guys do camp cuts. So, yeah, I guess that's like the most unique thing that's happened to me since August.
Now, wait a minute. Now, Coach Bronkema, one day after football is over, and maybe you can find a little eligibility. You still got the jump shot and the handles?
I don't know. It's been so long. We hoop in the off season. We do pick up basketball games, with our team and whatnot. And we have a lot of good hoopers, athletes. Some of our guys actually think they can play on the team right now, which probably
they always do.
They probably can though. But yeah, I don't know. I've talked to Coach Bronx about it, joking with him, be like, hey, maybe one year I could, join the hoop squad or whatnot. So yeah.
I was going to ask you about golf. Last week we had Sefa on here, and he mentioned he's not very good, but likes to play golf. Who's the better golfer between you two?
I'd probably have to say me. I haven't seen Sefa play golf, but it's probably something I would not want to see.
It's all love, Sefa.
All love. Yeah, all love, Sefa.
Well, Trinidad, thanks for all the time here today, and best of luck on Saturday night against the Eagles, 6:00 at Top Taggart Field.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you guys for having me.
Appreciate you.
We'll be back with more of the Bulldog Blitz football radio show presented by Two Hats Ranch right after this. Welcome back, everyone, to our final segment here on the Bulldog Blitz football radio show presented by Two Hats Ranch. Again, you can catch episode number 3 on podcast as well, both on YouTube and on Spotify. Along with every other episode, we'll have the show each and every Wednesday night, 6 to 7 p.m. right here on Sunny 97.3 and also online at FerrisStateBulldogs.com. Rob Bentley and Sandy Golston with you as the Ferris State Bulldogs get set to play host to the Ashland Eagles. Really looking forward to this matchup on Saturday.
Yeah, it's just going to be a lot of fun. It always has been, and it's one of those rivalries that's endured, and you like to see it played at a high level, and I think that's what it'll continue to be this year. And so it's going to be a fun one. It's going to be. It looks like it's going to be fantastic weather. It's going to be a night game, and should be a tremendous crowd. We had a great crowd for Lake Erie, and I think we're going to have an even bigger crowd this weekend.
We'll have the Bulldog Tailgate Show at 4:00, presented by Fox Motors, followed by the Johnson Automotive pregame show right around 5:00. Back up in the booth at the Wheeler Pavilion, and the game kicks off at 6:00. Of course, live coverage on Sunny 97.3, also in the Flint area on Metro Flint News Talk Radio, along with FerrisStateBulldogs.com online on the Bulldog Sports Network, and Flow Sports with our video coverage courtesy of Ferris State Television. Big home game for the Bulldogs. Ferris State on a bye week next week before they travel to American International. So really love to put all your attention on this one. Get this win, prove to 2-1, and then get a chance hopefully to rest up some guys next week.
Yeah, boy, you definitely want to go into this bye week at 2-1, and it's going to give you a chance not only to rest some guys and get some guys some treatment, but also to work on some player development, there's some injuries that, of course, are an unfortunate part of the game. And but it's also, this bye week is going to come at a time where it's going to give the Bulldogs a chance to really work on some of that player development that they may need over the course of the season.
Ferris State still a top 8 team in both Division II national polls, number 7 by the American Football Coaches Association, number 8 by D2Football.com. Big week of football action here in the Big Rapids area. Friday night, Big Rapids, Reed City, and then Ferris State Ashland. 2 great ball games here on tap for the fans in the community.
Boy, if you're a football fan in this community, you are going to be excited, and it's going to be fun for a lot of fans that we know overlap between supporting the local high school teams, particularly the Cardinals right here in Big Rapids. And of course, there's the Reed City fans, of course, that they have a great tradition at Reed City as well. So that's going to be always a huge, probably the biggest, not even probably, it's the biggest local high school football matchup for sure here in this area. And then you come back a night later and you got Ferris State and Ashland.
Of course, a big weekend here on tap as Ferris State gets ready to host Ashland Saturday night. And the Eagles, always a team that plays the Bulldogs very tough. They're going to be looking to bounce back after a tough loss here in their opening game of the season.
Yeah, they certainly would not like to see their season start off 0-2. And so I think they're going to come out like they're cornered and really fight and scratch and claw. They know that if they can come out of these first 2 games with at least one win, then that sets them up, looking ahead to what's going to be a conference slate in the GMAC that's going to be tough. I mean, we know that Tiffin is a good team. We know that Findlay is a good team. So there's some tough competition ahead for them. So they would love to get this one.
Of course, Ferris State tailgate lots open at 3 o'clock on Saturday. We had a great tailgate atmosphere when we were out there for the tailgate show this past week. Despite the chillier conditions, I'd expect that crowd to be even bigger here for the tailgate part of the day leading into kickoff.
Well, I'm sure people are seeing a lot of the pictures, or people probably saw some video of the great atmosphere that we had out at the game, and that's what we're building. That's what we're really building. That kind of atmosphere, that kind of environment. We talked about the tailgate area and us having our pregame show out there, and that's always fun to be out there amongst the fans. But then what I liked, Rob, is that a lot of those fans, if not all of those fans, spilled into the arena and really had that student section packed, standing room only in the student section. They spilled over into the visiting side section and into the home grandstand section. So really had a great student turnout.
Of course, this week, Ferris State at home, back-to-back home games. But after this week, the Bulldogs not at home until homecoming, which is on October 5th. So they'll have a bye week. They'll have a game with a long road trip to American International. So going to be a couple weeks here before the Bulldog fans get a chance to see them in action again.
Yeah, all the more reason why you should get your tickets, get your parking pass, and really come out and enjoy this experience, because not only is it going to be a few weeks until homecoming before you'll get a chance to see the Bulldogs again, that weather's probably going to start changing too. So, I mean, just you want to enjoy this good weather while you can.
For those fans tuned in, we would encourage you to come back for homecoming. And hopefully a lot of those alums, they always are, but hopefully a lot of people may be thinking about it. We'll have a chance to come back to the Big Rapids campus. A lot of changes that have been made here on campus, even over the course of the summer. We have Bulldog hockey, some date changes just that were announced in terms of the season opening series. They'll host Miami of Ohio October 4th and 5th. So Friday, Saturday, hockey series. We've got Bulldog volleyball at home, and a lot going into that homecoming matchup with the first conference game against Roosevelt.
Yeah, it's always nice when you have multiple sports, being a part of homecoming. That's going to be fantastic. And, homecoming is just one of my favorite times of the year. And, of course, I've been around here a long time. I went to college here, graduated from Ferris State. And, I'm seeing guys that I haven't seen in a while, or guys that I knew when I was here before, back in the early 90s as a student, and guys that were here before I was here, and I know them because I've met them over the years. And it's just a fun time just to see all the reunions and the anniversary reunions and people just coming back, sometimes that haven't been to campus in 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 or more years. And so a lot of fun homecoming. So you definitely want to get your spot for homecoming.
Of course, before we can think about homecoming this week, Ashland, and we heard from Coach Annese, we heard from Trinidad Chambliss, 2 guys looking forward to the matchup on Saturday, and should be a great ball game. Sandy, what does Ferris State need to do to come away with a win on Saturday night?
Well, one thing when you play an Ashland team is they're not going to make a lot of mistakes, so you can't make mistakes. And so I think the Bulldogs have to really be clean in terms of minimizing or eliminating outright turnovers. And I think they have to keep their penalties down. We heard Coach Annese talked about that a little bit. And you and I have been to a number of preseason practices, and that's been a big emphasis of the coaches to really focus in on minimizing penalties and trying to bring those penalties down. You're giving away field position. You're putting yourself in bad positions. You're putting your defense in bad positions when you have turnovers. And so really playing a clean football game is going to be really important for the Bulldogs. Offensively, the Bulldogs are going to have to be balanced. They're going to have to be able to throw the ball. We heard from Trinidad and the confidence that he has in the running game. They have to be able to run that ball as well, And, we saw the Detroit Lions had a great finish to their game against the Rams. And part of it was they were able to run the ball down the stretch in overtime. And so The Bulldogs would certainly love some drives like that one. I don't know how many of those drives they're going to get, but they would certainly love like that. And defensively, the Bulldogs have to be just very disciplined, very solid at all three levels. Because again, Ashland is a team that's not going to make a lot of mistakes.
Of course, you can buy your tickets and your parking in advance online, FarrowStateBulldogs.com/tickets. Be sure to get those tickets, that parking information online. Get there early on Saturday. Should be a great crowd at Top Tiger Field as the Bulldogs play host to the Ashland Eagles. Again, this has been the Bulldog Blitz football radio show presented by Two Hats Ranch. We'll be with you each and every Wednesday night throughout the season, 6 to 7 p.m. right here on Sunny 97.3 and online at FarrowStateBulldogs.com. Thanks to Steve Masters, Sunny 97.3, Brody Kaiser, who does a lot of the production work for this show. Big thanks to the president of Farrow State University, Dr. Bill Pink, athletic director Steve Brocklebank, and of course, all of our sponsors that help make all of our broadcasts possible and all the coverage of Farrow State football. Hard to believe it's already been 3 weeks here, and hopefully after this third game, the Bulldogs will be coming off a victory and get a chance to rest up next week on the bye week.
Well, you would love to go on a bye week with a big win. Not only a win, but a big win over Ashland.
Farrow State and Ashland. Again, wear black on Saturday night. It's a blackout game as the Bulldogs take on the Eagles here in a second consecutive home matchup. Should be a lot of fun. And Sandy, looking forward to the broadcast. We'll have pregame coverage starting at 4, leading into kickoff at 6 o'clock on Saturday night. Of course, live right here, not only on the radio dial, but on Flow Sports as well.
Come by and see us. We're going to be out in the parking lot for the tailgate show. And if you can't come and see us, we certainly hope that you'll tune in for some great Bulldog football.
That'll do it for episode number 3 of the Bulldog Blitz football radio show, presented by Two Hats Ranch. Again, you can catch the replay as well on YouTube at Ferris Athletics or on Spotify. Have a great week, everyone, and see you on Saturday night at Top Tiger Field.